Talking with Governor Reagan, what would you say was your worst movie?
That's very easy to answer. I could answer.
People are always asked their favorite.
And I heard you speculating a little while ago out here while I was off stage, speculating about what it's like to watch your movies as the hours go on late into the night.
Yes.
It's a little like watching a son you never knew you had.
You see yourself as a young man.
Yeah. I've got friends in the business that sit up to look at their old shows to watch their hairline recede. But the worst movie I have never seen.
Oh.
To this day. I made a picture. See, when you started in this business back in that golden era, they had a thing called the B unit at each studio. And I became the hero of the Bs for a while at Warner Brothers. It was the Gipper part that broke me out of that and into different kind of picture.
Yeah.
But I made some that they didn't, well, I was like an Errol Flynn in a low-budget sort of way. And this picture was called Code of the Secret Service.
Well, that sounds terrific.
Some people, some friends of mine have tried to trick me into a projection room a couple of times to see it.
Well, we have a little surprise for you.
Don't you dare.
We don't, but it would have been a nice trick, wouldn't it?
Of course, part of it, part of the blame was on us. The director and myself, we got mad at the producer. And usually in those things, they expected you to patch things up on the set. You know, that you'd look at the script and you'd say, you can't do that. And so you'd kind of cook it up and it'd come out a little better than it had been written. And this one, we got mad at the producer, and the director and I made up our minds we would shoot it exactly as it was written.
And that was the worst thing you could do to them.
Oh, I want to tell you, it reached a real low spot when the villain shoots me and then walks away and leaves me for dead, and I take a book, which is a Spanish-American dictionary, I just happened to be in Mexico at the time, out of my pocket, and I say to the book, you know, if you ever need an endorsement, call on me. And then I put it in my hip pocket, I suppose, in case he shoots me while I'm going away. And
book saved your life. What about Bedtime for Bonzo? That's one of my favorite films you were ever in.
Well, now listen, the funny thing is Bedtime for Bonzo was quite a box office smash, and the funny thing is it proved a rule of comedy, that it was a good picture. It was a very funny comedy because it was based on truth. It was based on the type of experiments that they've been doing at Duke University with chimps. And the idea was, I was a psychology professor, and I was trying to raise a chimp as you would a baby and see how far up you could bring it in intelligence before it slowed down and a child would go ahead. So it was being raised in my home and clothed and with a crib and all of it. And Bonzo, the night the picture opened, Bonzo died in a fire out at Jungle Land.
The Bonzo who played the part?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
And I hated that because he and I, we had a very great understanding. We got along just fine.
That's a sad story.
It was a good picture. Then to show you the other rule of comedy they violated, they made a sequel, which I'm happy to say I wasn't in, called Bonzo Goes to College. And, you know, and Hollywood did this a lot. If a picture made money, they would immediately come back with a sequel, but somehow they never seemed to be able to realize what it was that made the first one good. Now, the first one was based, as I say, on a basic, sound premise. The second one, when they tried to have you believe that a chimp could make the college football team, it was burlesquing burlesque. And as you know, in comedy, it never works.
Are there any colleges that you think a chimp could make the... I'm leaving you wide open here.
Well, no, because I never had any quarrel with the football players. I happen to have a strong affinity and a belief in the kind of guy that's playing football today.
Why are so many...
I know of some that I think could hold some administrative positions in some campuses.
I was wondering if you might say that. Why are people leaving the state for the first time in history? I was surprised to hear this fact, but I always grew up knowing that people were moving by the rate of 400 a day to California or something, and I believe that this year, for the first time, they're hauling out of here.
Well, being someone who predicted that, I'm not at... I've not been too surprised. There've always been people leaving. While we've always had them coming in, they've been coming in faster. But there's been an exchange. The balance was in our favor. But I think what happened is when a state grows to the size of California and has large urban centers, it loses some of the appeal that we're bringing the people here. The people were coming here in a kind of a pioneering sense. It was a new frontier, a new start, new jobs and futures and so forth. Now when you grow up to being the most populous state in the Union, you lose some of that, and you find people here leaving for the same reason they're leaving states back there. They're going to Alaska, Arizona, Oregon, or Washington.
To get what they used to get here.
That's right.
Less concrete and
a
asphalt.
new start.
Let us take this message from our local stations. We'll be right back.